Hello friends, this is Growl. In this video, we're going to be talking about Grievous, specifically what you can do to time keys on Grievous. In this video, I'm mostly going to talk about healer tips, although I do want to mention first some things that DPS can do, or in general, just things you can do as a person in a key to help make the key go more smoothly. I've been having a lot of people come into my stream at the beginning, or honestly throughout the whole Grievous week, asking for tips or advice on dealing with this affix. I'll be honest, it's just really tough. I don't know what people are expecting. If they think there's going to be some magical spell, I'm going to tell them to open in their spell book that if they press it, it'll immediately full heal their whole party through Grievous, but it's just going to be tough. There isn't going to be an easy solution, but I've been thinking over the last couple of days about what sort of advice I would give to a newer healer trying to deal with Grievous, and I've come up with a few bullet points that I think should steer you in the right direction. So first I want to talk about what you do as a party member, not just a healer. The most important thing is that you're using your personals properly. Most people's mindset with their personal defensives, you know, their bark skin or their cloak or their diffuse magic or whatever, is to use them when they think they're going to die. They wait till they get hit, then they pop stuff and they are panicked and they hope they live. During Grievous, that won't really fly. You might still be able to do that, but you should be using it more and more often just to handle damage that's incoming. Even if you're at full health and the damage that's about to hit you might only take you to 70 or 60% health, if you have a short cooldown defensive that you can press, use it. It's going to help you a lot. Most of them aren't even on the GCDs, so it's not going to cost you any globals or any damage to press it. And the more you press those defensives, the easier it will be for both your healers and just for you to stay alive. It can be hard though, and I understand, especially if you're just learning, you're trying to do your best that your character can do. You might not always be aware of what every single monster does and which one each one is targeting and what, you know, damage is coming in on you, but at the same time, it's something good to work towards. One of the biggest things I noticed from going healing Grievous with a pug and a 15 to going with my team in a top team in a 25 and a 26 key is how super aware all of the DPS players are of all the damage that's coming to them. Every time Junkrat's being targeted with an ability, you'll always see evasion, feign, he'll interrupt it. Even if stuff's coming towards Chow, our mage, you'll see alter time, you'll see ice block. You know, the Boomy's always pressing bark skin, a little bit of off healing there as well. Work on your awareness and try and be ready to pop those abilities before you get hit. There are tons of great weak auras or other things you can use like big wigs to try and notify you when a spell is incoming. Number 2 is to drink between pulls to get topped. This isn't just for the healer during Grievous. Honestly, this is for everybody. One thing that'll happen is you'll be in a tough pull. Everyone will be dipping low. The healer will start to be running out of mana, so they can't necessarily just top everyone right away. The pull will end. Let's say the healer is trying to get mana, right? Well, the healer's not just going to top everybody standing there. It's going to take way too long to heal everyone, then get mana. It's going to take upwards of 15-20 seconds. So generally what should happen is the healer should stop and drink, and everyone else should stop and drink also if you have those Grievous stacks. So many times in pugs, I finish a tough pull, everyone's in Grievous, I start getting mana, and then they all just stand there and stare at me while they're at half health, ticking down from Grievous like, yo, you gonna heal me, bro? It's like, come on, you know? I understand if not everyone has food, but in a group like this, for example, where you don't have a mage, honestly, if you're seriously trying to push score and do a good job during Grievous, get mage food. Go hit up somebody in Ouroboros, or at least carry a stack of personal food or something from the inn just to get yourself out of Grievous in between pulls. It will save you a lot of time in the run, and your healer will 100% appreciate it. The last thing for every player is be ready to use single self heals or health potions, health stones, if you think the group is going to be in trouble and you can get out of Grievous quickly. So for example, let's say a mechanic goes out, everyone goes to 70% health, but then other people start taking more damage. Your healer isn't really going to want to top your Grievous off right away. They're going to be dealing with people who are in trouble. But at the same time, if you're sitting at 70% health, you're going to slowly tick down and eventually you're going to be in danger. if you have that awareness to realize that you have Grievous and other people are getting healed instead of you, be ready to pop something. Use Renewal, for example, as a druid, Exhilarate as a hunter, or something like that. And again, this takes a little bit of awareness to understand what's going on. It can be hard, but it will, again, save you a lot of time, and it'll save you a lot of pain going through Grievous weeks. Everyone knows, you know, oh, I've been playing with monkey DPS that stand and everything, but hey, I'm sure we've all had monkey healers as well that aren't great at healing. And having that awareness of understanding, okay, my healer's struggling a little bit right now, let me pop my Exil, even though I'm not in danger, because I think there might be some danger too. And, you know, these things aren't super long cooldowns. That's not to say as a, you know, a class like a shaman or a druid, you should be like always off healing and spamming off heals just to help Grievous. But at the same time, let's say your whole party is at 40-50% health, and you know you can healing surge yourself once to top yourself out of Grievous so that your healer doesn't have to worry about you. It may be a really solid play. So that wraps up things that your group can do. Let's talk about what you can do specifically as a healer. I have 5 specific tips for that as well. The most important thing you need to do is just change your mindset. As you get better as a healer, you start to learn that you don't need to top everybody right away. Just because someone's at 80% health, 70% health, they might not be in danger at all. And it actually is a waste of time and mana and globals to heal them. During Grievous, that's not the case. At any point, if someone dips below 90% health and that Grievous starts coming, you just need to top them immediately, no matter what, even if there's no danger at all. Get ready to play whack-a-mole. As soon as someone dips low, get those heals out. The longer you wait for the heals, the more damage they're going to take and the more heals you're going to need to use eventually. It might seem a little counterintuitive, and it definitely will form some bad habits, but it's just something that needs to be done. It can be a tough week to learn to heal, and you may need to unwind some bad habits after, but like for example here, our rogue takes a little bit of damage on the setup because of the bleed. Right now the rogue isn't really in danger at all, and you know there shouldn't be anything that hits him, but at the same time you do need to top him up immediately from that Grievous, because if you don't, it's just going to start taking damage. It's just going to keep taking damage until you do. Number 2 is gear. You'll see a trend in some of the top healers shifting more and more towards DPS focused gear. That's because the more damage your group does, the faster you go through the dungeon. And this isn't something that's only true for high keys too. I see this commonly that, oh, if you're doing world first keys, you need to do damage as a healer, but any other keys you don't. Well, that's not necessarily the case, and I'm sure there are plenty of healers right now running higher damage gear and lower keys, you know, something like Mad Paragon Lego for Paladin, Earthquake Ellie Lego, or the Fist Weaving Lego for Monk, things like that. Well, during Grievous, you may need to put those in the bin, at least for the week. I'm not saying you can't run it, but be ready to change your gear towards a more healing focused setup, because you might just need more healing. There's going to be way more healing checks. Like for instance, this three pack, you wouldn't really think of it being a tough healing check, but because there's so much random spread damage and cast, there's just so much healing that needs to be done, and your amount of healing that you can do as a healer is going to be challenged way more this week than any other week. And this is something that I can't necessarily tell you how much you have to change. You may change a trinket, you may change gear, you may need to change your whole setup. You may already be super healing focused, I don't know. But try and be of an open mindset and be thinking about your items you have. Don't necessarily think about items just as, oh, this one's good, this one's bad. Think of it as, what is it good for? Is it good for damage? Is it good for healing? And go from there. Number 3 is top one person at a time. Don't try and blanket heal. This is something that, again, is hard for healers, because when you see your whole party taking damage, your first reaction is to try and use the most efficient heal and try and do something that will top everyone at the same time. The issue is that everyone's taking damage, and so if you're trying to blanket heal small heals to everybody over time, it's not going to be able to overtake the amount of Grievous that goes out, and it's also not going to remove those stacks. The most important thing is that you get the stacks off ASAP, so that means removing one person at a time. and just digging them out one person at a time. And it can feel a little bit weird when your whole party's in danger and you're not pressing your party heals, but you just need to dig one person at a time, because as soon as that Grievous goes away, you're chilling. And that also extends to talents and legendaries and stuff as well. I was talking about having a more healing focused mindset, changing more healing focused gear. Very often you'd prefer single target healing versus AoE healing. Obviously, if you can just get some free AoE healing, that's good too, but being able to get more single target healing helps a lot, because it improves your ability to dig people out of Grievous. To go back on the gear a little bit too, like for example, Mastery on Mistweaver is a really strong stat for single target healing. However, it does no damage, right? So generally, if you're pushing high keys as Mistweaver, you're trying to avoid Mastery if you're, trying to go fast. But on a week like this, having a little Mastery is good, because not only is it a good stat for healing, but it's also good for single target healing, and it'll help you dig people out quickly. Tip number 4 is use your cooldowns proactively. I mentioned talking about defensive cooldowns like that, but it's especially true with healing cooldowns. One thing I've noticed from watching lots of healers who heal lower level keys trying to improve is that they sit on their cooldowns way too long. They're scared to use their cooldowns. They're waiting for the right moment and their whole team to be in danger. They don't want to get caught with their pants down where everyone's taking damage and they don't have a big cooldown. Well, a lot of times during Grievous, you need to use those cooldowns to stay out of the Grievous. If you're fighting a pack and you know that pack does a lot of AoE damage and you have some different cooldowns at your disposal, generally you should just send it right away. You don't want to wait till everyone's buried before you use your cooldowns for the most part, because you'll be spending all your cooldowns getting everyone out of the Grievous as opposed to just preventing it. And be ready to just send cooldowns. You go into a pack, the pack's kind of scary, or let's say it's a boss event and the boss does a lot of damage, immediately just send the cooldown without hesitation, especially if it's something that's rolling for a long time, something like Crane that lasts 20 or 30 seconds, or with Weapons of Order, I mean. And anything, something like Healing Tide, even, just send it. Don't worry about trying to hold cooldowns for specific moments unless you know for sure you're going to need it. You have to just be willing to commit a lot more cooldowns, because the healing that you need to do not only is a lot higher this week, but it's also the slower you are to react to the damage, the more healing you're going to need to do. And the last tip I have is understand what removes Grievous. So the way Grievous works is that if the last stack, the one stack, will only be removed if you top that person. However, the other stacks that add up over time, if you don't top them, you can actually remove them with abilities. And certain abilities interact with Grievous in kind of a strange way. And I'm actually going to pull up a tweet from Jeeth. I'll leave this in the description as well if you want to check this out. But this is a listing of every healer ability and how they interact with Grievous. And you'll see some interesting interactions here. For example, Chain Heal for Shamans includes the bounces. It will remove a stack of Grievous on every single bounce. Also, Penance from Disc Priest, every tick of the Penance will remove a stack of Grievous. So in a pinch, although I say generally you don't want to blanket heal and you just want to dig one person at a time, you can send out for instance, Manatide Lego and a few chain heals, or maybe penancing an individual player that you don't normally do, just to get those Grievous stacks gone quickly. And then as another thing to consider, like Soothing Mist doesn't remove any stacks of Grievous, sort of understandably so, because it doesn't really cost mana and there's only one global. Then you have Essence Font that doesn't remove any stacks, right? So it may be tempting to drop an Essence Font to improve your mastery, but it also may be better to just send individual heals to get people out quickly. Same with Druids, for example. Your first instinct might be to Wild Growth to drop an Efflow for Spring Blossoms, but these things aren't removing stacks of Grievous. And it's not to say you don't ever use these things, but understand what's going on with your abilities and which abilities remove stacks and which ones don't in a pinch. For example, for druids, rejuve and regrowth both remove stacks, so blanketing your party with rejuves might be more effective than throwing out a wild growth if you have the choice between one or the other. So that covers my 5 tips and general advice with dealing with Grievous. I know you're not going to leave this video becoming the god of Grievous, but hopefully you at least understand a little bit where you should be, where your mindset should be with this, and improving a little bit. So thanks for watching. I hope to make videos more geared towards affixes or other things healers are struggling with in the future. I'm also really excited to talk about the 9-1 changes. I've been a little hesitant about talking with them yet because things are shifting so much, but now that things are starting to get into place, I want to start making some videos on the changes, what I think the healer meta is going to be, and all that stuff. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video if you haven't already, and happy keying.